Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
So just forewarning, we did record a special episode last week that should air before this one, in which we brought Dad back for another Ask Dad extravaganza, and where we were going to talk all about storytelling and things like that. I haven't edited it now as of recording. Well, Sam, you were there, so this is more for the listeners. Things got a little intense,
a little bit, yeah,
spicy.
Whoa. Don't say spicy. That means a whole different thing on the internet.
Okay. Not spicy. Things just got heated.
There you go.
So since I haven't started editing yet, I don't know if I'm going to keep it all. I don't know if I'm going to just like shorten it. I don't know if I'm going to scrap the whole episode. So listeners, I'm bringing this up because if there wasn't a special episode between the last one and this one, I apologize. If there was a special episode between the last one and this one, I apologize. We'll see. We'll see what happens, because we definitely want to bring Dad back. And once we finish recording, me and Dad kept talking a little bit, and we're like, "Damn it, this is the stuff I wanted to actually talk about." So we might end up doing a part 2. So we'll see. I'll see how the edit goes. I'll see if, who knows? I'm gonna sit down one afternoon to edit. If I feel cool of being canceled, I'll go ahead and air it.
Oh my gosh. I, for one, regret nothing.
Well, see, there you go.
I said what I said.
There you go. So did I.
Man, this is going to be real weird if you didn't edit and put out the episode.
I know. Everyone's going to want to know.
Like, what the heck did they say?
That is the true Lost Legacy episode.
All of our followers, meaning Dan, is going to be very confused.
I know. Listeners of Dark who are just joining us while we talk about Dark, we have we've always referred to the cut 30-minute Game of Thrones rant from our very, very first episode, back before we were even called Lost Legacies. It was 30 minutes of us just complaining and dunking on the writers of Game of Thrones. And yeah, so we always kind of refer to that like we don't want to do that again. Maybe one day we'll release that. I don't want to, though.
Pay me. If you pay me money, I will do it, okay?
We'll release the first episode full, uncut. Like, man, I don't even know. That was probably a 70, 80-minute long episode.
Dang.
Yeah, like it was, because I want to say our first episode was like our standard 45 minutes. We were still pretty short back then.
That's true.
Yeah. But with that rant, it went long. Like, damn.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I saw a couple of weeks ago, just saw like clips, other people who have, money. They're able to film their podcasts as well. So, I just saw a couple of clips popping up, on my timeline, and I didn't really understand the conceit of the show. And it doesn't sound like something I'd listen to, but my main takeaway from it was that there are people that sit down and do this for like 4 hours.
Yeah, that's nuts, man.
And I'm not about that life, man.
I think what makes it, I don't know if this is the case for the show you're talking about, but I think there's also like a streaming element to it. And that I could kind of understand, because there is a live aspect to it,
Yeah.
People asking questions or listening, chat wants to know, blah, blah, blah. That's very much like TV, like a TV hosting gig, even like a radio show kind of DJ thing, 4 hours. just sitting there talking, like, man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You and I like to talk, but damn, that's a
Yeah, like
lot.
if we had it blocked out in the day, it's be like, all right, Sam, hunker down. We're gonna be recording for 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
which like I guess is
That's
sort
what we
of
do for
what we
D&D.
that's what we do for D&D, but that's D&D.
Yeah,
You
that's
can lose
fun.
yourself in that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun. It's like if we're just here, talking about pop culture for four
yeah.
hours, I'm gonna be honest. Hour one, I'm gonna be like, are we
Yeah.
almost done?
Well, and you see, and that's honestly why I don't know if I'm going to air that episode or if I'm going to cut part of it. Not so much. I don't actually think we're going to get canceled. Spoiler alert, guys. That is kind of what we talk about. We talk about cancel culture and some
Mhm.
politics. So we get into it. So if you're easily offended, you'll probably be offended.
Mm,
But the main thing is like I don't. We try to do something good or something positive. Everything we talk about, we will kind of rant here and there. That's one of the reasons why I cut the Game of Thrones rant as well. Like we were just
mhm.
bitching for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm like that's if I'm gonna shit talk something, I want to do it in a constructive manner, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So and that's not what the Game of Thrones rant was at all.
Mhm.
At least as
And
far as I remember.
yeah, and also it's kind of antithetical to or antithetical. Uh, there's a fancier word here that I am butchering right now, but essentially it's like that's like the opposite of what we wanted to do with this podcast. Where
Yeah.
we kind of came at this with the conceit that hey, we want to put something positive out there. You really like Lost.
Yeah.
I really like storytelling. Let's go ahead, let's do it. And, that's just kind of been the thing. Put out a positive message,
Mhm.
and yeah, we criticize a lot. And I think that's more of what we do. We're criticizing, we're critiquing. We're not necessarily always, just crap talking.
Yeah.
So,
So, but all and also because that was the middle of the pandemic, so we really wanted just to put something positive out there. Um,
mhm,
and here we are, all these years later, and it still feels like, man, there's still a lack of positivity out there. So,
yeah.
and also, you know what? Thinking about it, like we were joking about it, but I think yeah, that episode. Uh, I think we finally found the lost legacies. Like this is kind of what we're always talking about the show was, and we finally addressed it, talking about specifically because we were talking about storytelling and the types of
Mhm.
stories and where that conversation took us was nuts. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
But I think it's all tied into the theme of the show. Now talking about it, I think I'm just going to release it probably after this episode.
Okay.
So yeah, if this goes up on a Monday, I'll release that episode like on I don't know, what's a good day? Thursday, Friday?
Thursday.
Thursday. I'll release it on a Thursday.
Hmm.
So, so don't worry, guys. You haven't listened to the episode because it hasn't come out yet. But
Wow.
just in this little 5 minutes right here, I
Ugh,
think I think we're gonna release it now in a
this
few days.
intro is wild.
So yeah, that was a disclaimer, and now I'm like, okay, let's do it. Oh, jeez. But what else? What else is new since the last episode of Dark that we watched?
Mm.
You watch anything?
Uh, hmm. Oh, saw the holdovers.
Oh, was that good?
Yeah, that was really good.
I keep getting clips on Instagram. I'm like, man, I really want to see this.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, uh took a took half a day at work.
Mhm.
Took my wife to go see it at the draft house, and I was sort of misled. I thought it was gonna be funnier.
Mm,
uh it's funny, but
yeah,
it's much more of like a drama,
yeah,
you know uh and not even not even like a oh, it's like a dark drama or whatever. Like no, it's just like it's tackling life. It's coming of age
an
for
evaluation of the soul.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah. It's weird
exactly.
because a lot of people have uh described it as like a comedic Christmas movie. And from everything I'm hearing, that is not what it is at all. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, but it does like it has a sort of timeless feeling to it, you know.
Because what is it
And
in
I
the
think,
70s?
yeah, in the 70s. And I guess like the fact that it takes place like at Christmas time, there's not a lot of people in it. It's like, yeah, like it does it I won't say it feels magical, but I feel like it's just definitely one of it's one of these stories where you just really like the setting and the setting both in like structure, area, and then season. It
Yeah.
really just lends itself to like, oh, this is why, it's like if you're if you're taking a step back and saying that, like, well, A Christmas Carol is about a guy, like sort of finding out what the meaning of life is.
Hmm.
That's sort of a little bit what the holdovers is too. It's like it's different people finding out that life means different things for everyone,
Hmm.
and they we can all affect each other's lives, and kind of on a to kind of harken it back to us. It's like it kind of is about being positive, being a force of good for other people, no matter how briefly you interact with them.
Hmm.
So
About
yeah.
you having that choice. That is your
Yes.
choice every day.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one I really want to check out. I love Paul Giamatti. The
Oh, he's
guy,
great in it.
the kid, that was his first acting role. Uh, so apparently they did auditions at the school they filmed at, and he was one of the students, and he got cast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
like, dude, that's crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I didn't watch anything, man. I was sick all weekend.
That's true. You were.
I didn't even have time well, I had time. I just didn't have the energy to play Baldur's Gate. I'm like, you know what?
Hmm.
I need brain power for this and I can't. I was just so out of it. 4-day weekend and I slept for half of it.
Yeah.
And even now, like I feel a lot better, but I'm still nowhere near 100%. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So no, unfortunately I didn't watch. I feel like I watched something. Oh, well, we discussed it in the episode that will air in a few days, but I did start watching Masters of the Air. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll discuss that then. Uh, and I really enjoyed it. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. This episode of Dark, man,
Yeah.
wild. So
Let's get
today
into it.
we're talking about Dark, season 2, episode 4, The Travelers. Damn it, didn't write
What?
an opening. So
Dang it, Matthew.
Claudia goes to the future.
Uh-huh.
Jonas
Mm-hmm.
goes to the past. And I need a
Uh-huh.
third one. What's the third one? Um, and Bartosh is left to die. Oh man! So what did y'all think?
uh
You texted me. You're like, what?
yeah. Yeah. Um, I hate time travel.
Oh, I know.
I hate it so much.
This is like the horror version of time travel. Like this show takes all the fun out of time travel and makes
Mm-hmm.
you really look at like the dark side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, are you okay? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh we're just gonna come right out of the gate. If you're not caught up, I don't know what you're doing
Too
listening to
bad.
this episode, but
Yeah.
huge spoiler is that Adam, the leader of Sickmundus, is Jonas,
Uh huh.
is a future version of Jonas, and it's the reason his face looks the way it is because time travel takes a toll. The body's not supposed to time travel that much, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, okay, all right. I was a little upset I was a little upset, mostly because I feel like we've hardly had any scenes with Adam,
Yeah.
so that when, Jonas is like, "Who are you?" Adam's just like, "Don't you know yet?" And I'm like, "No, he
Yeah.
just met you. He just barely knows you
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
We as the audience also kind of barely know you exist."
Yeah.
And now it's like it was different when in season 1 we didn't get that question about, future Jonas until like the very last episode,
Yeah.
where he's just talking to the drifter. He's like, who are you? And he's like, don't you know? Haven't you
Yeah.
figured it out? And we're like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. But
Yeah.
here it's just like, okay, all right, calm down.
Hmm.
I the that did kind of irk me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, man, it's like this episode. You're absolutely right in that, like, this episode just truly completely s- d- what's the opposite of like selling?
Fine.
Oh, well, no,
Giving
because
away for free?
well, yeah, I guess it's like, okay,
Stealing.
it doesn't sell me on time travel at all. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want it.
Yeah.
I don't want time travel. One, in this universe, we can only time travel to the same place, which is this awful, miserable town that feels awful at every time period.
Well, I mean, I think
And
if you leave, you could time travel to other places. But it's like it's you're stuck to that location.
yeah,
Wherever you leave, that's where you're going to end up.
yeah,
So hope that it does the ground beneath you doesn't give away. Like don't do it on a third floor building, you know?
yeah,
Do it on ground level.
yeah. Yeah, because I go too far into the past, I'm gonna appear in the air, boop, and then
Yeah, yeah.
probably die.
Before three-story buildings were invented.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a light scene. Some much needed levity. Did I use that right?
Hmm.
Where Claudia goes to the library and she's learning how the tablets work. And I love
Oh
how
yeah.
she's like tapping on it's like boom, boom,
Really hard,
boom. That's
yeah.
how I type, you know? I'm like, oh man. I just thought that was cool, you know?
Hmm.
And even the music changed a little bit. The music really stepped it up this episode.
Hmm.
Um it was I don't know, just more noticeable. Uh little I don't know. I just I really love the music in that scene where Claudia is exploring the tablets and the internet because it does sound a little futuristic. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, I didn't really think about that. Like, 33 years in the future is pretty high tech for her, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah,
So,
we were talking about that. It's like, oh man, like, just think about how far technology has come since,
yeah,
86.
yeah,
Like, that's insane.
yeah. I mean, Star Trek The Next Generation hadn't even premiered yet.
Whoa, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
What did, well, like, what was Kat saying? Because she's the one who asked, do you think Adam is someone we've already met before? And I was like, oh, I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um yeah, I think we were both just kind of like floored. We were like, "Oh, man."
Mhm.
Yeah, and we were just trying to figure out like what this mean. Oh, she did say that that means that future Jonas knows that
Oh,
Adam is himself.
yeah, yeah, because
It's
he's been
the
talking
future
about
version of him.
Adam as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and that's like his whole conceit in this episode. It's like I came back to stop Adam because he's getting ready
Yeah,
for the last cycle.
yeah.
Um So yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I get, yeah, yeah. So Kat said that like older Jonas already knows. I'm like, man, I this wouldn't be as exciting, and I get it. But if this ever happens, I need the time travel person to just sit down and be like, okay, sit down. walk me through it. Just tell me everything. Tell me everything right freaking now. Because I feel like we're all just kind of like the adults feel like they're running around like chickens with their head cuts off, being like,
Yeah.
oh, but look, it's like, oh, and then this, and then it's like, what? We're accusing people of like you knew all along, and
Yeah.
nobody is saying no.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just waiting for it to be just like, well, like, no, we didn't know all along.
Yeah.
We had
Like
to
we
piece
figured
this
this out.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we didn't
Yeah.
just put this up in a day. Like, yeah.
It's interesting though that how secretive everyone is though,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody's telling anyone everything or
Mm-hmm.
anything, Even like when we talked about last week, Noah is now keeping secrets from Adam.
Yeah.
So there's just so much going on, and what was kind of a I don't know, a clue or tipping point was, which was really interesting in this episode, when older Jonas is explaining it in the bunker to everyone, and he says, in the end, Claudia became what she was fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we've already talked about it. And old Claudia did mention, she has to preserve the timeline. In order for things to end, she has to keep things happening the way they're supposed to. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. Because now you start thinking about the whole implications. Like, you have to just turn your head when Mikhail goes missing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, so you let him go missing. You
Mm-hmm.
let Ulrich go missing. You're potentially letting Regina grow up without a mom, apparently, because Claudia disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the modern day, she has cancer. So like who knows? Like it just feels like you're sacrificing everyone to keep the timeline intact. That's kind of the
Yeah.
vibes it feels like.
Yeah. It kind of feels like too, like, I guess it's like everything feels like it's already set. So does that mean that this terrible bleak future that we get, like, there's no way around that?
Well, and that's what's in. I keep saying interesting. It was a very interesting episode, because they keep saying that it's going to end with the final cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what's this final cycle? What has to happen in the final cycle, and what does that mean? It ends. Like, does that mean we could keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean none of this ever happens? Like, because it's like now we're starting to kind of grasp how much everything is connected and how much this is a loop. Everything is, if anything we've seen so far in these first season and a half, if any of those one things didn't happen, everything else would fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's crazy, because you're like, okay, what's to stop Jonas from just doing something random, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
It's like I don't
Maybe
know.
he always did something random you that led to this point.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
I'm just of the mind that, like, okay, here, and I know we've kind of talked ad nauseum about this maybe a couple episodes ago, or last season, where or Ulrich goes in the past and kills or tries to kill Helgi.
right.
And we've seen the implications of that. It's like that doesn't, like, apparently that doesn't work. But you're and hear me out here. What if we just take out Noah?
Yeah.
Or take out Noah, or right now in this moment, as Adam is about to explain everything to Jonas, why don't we just take him out? I think there's a point
Jonas,
where,
just shoot him.
right, like, just shoot him. You've got the lantern, smack him on the head,
Mm-hmm.
and finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this sounds really bad to say, but Yorick didn't finish the job, and if he
Yeah.
had, I think everything would have been different.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there's a certain point where curiosity stops. You have to just stop being curious,
Hmm.
and you just have to make a decision. And
Yeah.
in these time travel, circumstances, I get it. Jonas is stuck in so many decades where he's not supposed to be. You
Yeah.
know, the tunnel isn't even finished.
Where's he in the 20s, right?
Yeah, he's 20. I think they said 21
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And according to very young Noah, time travel doesn't happen here with the tunnel for another like 32 years.
Yeah. It's how long it's going to take to finish the tunnel.
Yeah. And I'm just like, wow, okay, that's
Which
wild.
would be the 50s,
Hmm.
which would be where young Egon is.
Hmm.
Man. So you see, here's the thing about what you're asking though, like we don't know. So like if Jonas just pulls out a gun and shoots Adam in the head,
Hmm.
who's to say he didn't always do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, right.
What would be nuts is if he goes and shoots young Noah in the head.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Because
yeah,
we've already
that's what I
seen
was
it.
saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've already seen adult Noah. So it's like, what would change? Could he even do it? Like,
Hmm.
that's something like we haven't really explored. Like we don't we have still yet to see anyone change the timeline. It seems like everything's been going like that's what I was saying about the loop, right? It seems like this is how everything's been happening.
Hmm.
So is that possible? Is in the rules of this show, is it possible to change the timeline?
Yeah.
Because, I feel like that's kind of the first thing you would do. Like, okay, we gotta break it. We gotta break the timeline, we gotta change it or something. So we needed to see, like, as writers, did they create a world where it's possible to just go kill young Noah?
Hmm.
Or is some kind of final destination thing gonna happen and like take you out instead?
Yeah, that's what
Or
I was thinking. Yeah.
the gun jams? I don't know. Like,
No, stop
yeah.
putting jam in guns. What the hell?
Lone Star. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. But something I really did like about this episode was how um the adults are starting to converge now. So
Hmm.
Hannah calls Charlotte because she's got to tell someone, hey, this is older Jonas. He's telling me about time travel. And she just walks in and she's like, who's this? She's like, it's Jonas, blah, 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 time traveler. She's like, who are the people in this picture? She's like automatically into it. Like, you don't need to explain time travel to her. She already knows what's up,
Yeah.
like she's just going, this is just the next step in the case. I'm like, that was so cool. And even Hannah's like, wait a second. Wait. You knew what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
So and then they get Katerina in there as well, and of course she wouldn't believe them.
Hmm.
Uh, and then she goes and looks into the yearbook and she finds Mikhail in the
Hmm.
80s. I'm like, dude, he
Hmm.
was there the whole time.
The whole
He was
time.
there when she was there.
Oh, yeah.
That is horrible.
The whole time. Man.
And
And
now,
she's such a bitch to him.
yeah, yeah.
You
And
know?
now there's this whole and we kind of alluded to this when Hannah sees young Mikhail in the past in her house.
Hmm.
It's like, do you get the flood of memories like a crazy deja vu? Like, oh God, I remember, and you're like, because it's a small town. She knows who Hannah was married to.
Yeah.
She knows who Michael was. So now does she get the flood of emotions like of remembering? I've technically watched my son grow up already and
Hmm.
become Michael, even if they weren't very close, you know? Just
Yeah.
seeing him physically grow, like
Yeah.
I wonder if like she gets that wave of memories, or is it just kind of like fuzzy still?
I have to believe that it's kind of like because everything is happening in tandem.
Yeah.
Like every day in 2019, it's the same day in the 80s and the 50s.
Right.
I feel like there is like just like a haze like blocking like a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, but I think as the days go on and things
As the
happened in
days
the
go
past,
by.
you in the future start to see with eyes unclouded, and you start and you start
Yeah.
to remember these experiences that are unfolding in the past.
Yeah.
So
That would make sense.
yeah, so I wonder if like Katerina even remembers like seeing this young boy, and like bullying him or like pushing him or whatever,
Uh-huh.
just the few times that we've seen that happen,
Uh-huh.
you know. I don't even know. This is just so messed up.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's such brilliant writing, like the layers and how deep it is, you know?
Hmm.
It's like how do you even begin to untangle it? Which is why a lot of people, including and the team in Antarctica, they have the board with all the pins of who's who and who's related and
Hmm.
who's from what time, and yeah, like it's crazy, man. And going back to your customer survey last week, yeah, it's a tough show to really understand and to grasp. But I think that's also part of it. Like you're never supposed to 100% fully understand what's going on. Like there's always something you're like, well, wait a second. How does this tie in? How does this, you
Hmm.
know? And just got to slowly keep unraveling it.
Hmm. And I think that's kind of the best thing about it too, is that like it always gives you enough to where you start to be able to fill things in on your own,
Right.
while also giving you the things that are like, oh, like that, this doesn't seem as important, but
Yeah.
I'm sure because we're seeing it, this might become important somewhere down the line. Case in point, Jonas finds the tin box that has Alexander's passport and the
Right.
gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he never knew about this. So
Mm-hmm.
he's confronting Hannah about it, and Hannah's just like, it's insurance,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, I
Even
like,
ask her, he's like, who are you?
yeah, yeah,
Like, yeah, dude, you don't know your mom the way we do.
exactly. And it's so interesting. And even still, like I know last week we were talking about how like, man, it's so weird that this like investigator is just like harping on why Alexander took his wife's last name, and he straight up confronts him
Dude,
about it in this episode, and I'm like, this guy knows something.
right? It's like
This
this
guy
is
100% knows
this is my one lead and I'm
Alexander.
gonna
And
follow it to the ground.
oh yeah, he even puts it up on the murder board at the police station.
Uh-huh.
He puts Alexander Holler, I guess is his last
Cooler.
name, or
Cooler
Cooler.
or something like that. Yeah.
Kohler, yeah.
Yeah.
Um
It's like,
up on the
dude.
board, like question mark on top of all of these missing people, missing
Hmm.
and dead people, and you're just like, does this guy really think that Alexander isn't like this involved?
Right.
Like,
Which is crazy because we're watching it from the outside and we're like, I don't think he's involved at all.
yeah. It's like he's
Like,
tangentially involved because,
yeah. For
you
sure he's doing
know,
illegal stuff, but like he really has nothing to do
it's almost
with
it's
the main story.
yeah, it's almost like there's a crime happening right now, and you get pulled in and you get asked about a completely different crime. It's like,
Yeah.
well, wait, what? It's
Oh
like, I've
man.
been money laundering. Oh, we thought that you're like murdering people. Like, what?
Yeah.
No, that's not me.
Oh wow.
I'm a white collar criminal, please. It was really cool to see uh the kids get involved.
Yeah, so they're in the caves now,
Yeah, everybody's in the
exploring.
caves exploring. Marta is going through some weird stuff.
She's having dreams of Jonas now.
Does anybody get a good night's sleep in this town?
Right?
Is my question.
Maybe that's the problem. No one's getting enough sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, when you
That I mean,
time
hey, that.
travel, it leaves like this aura of sleeplessness in the surrounding vicinity. And because of that, because everyone's so damn tired, that just makes them even more depressed. They make them even more prone to make bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just
Sleep
lack of sleep.
deprivation.
Yeah.
I like the sleep deprivation via time travel equals depression. Got
I
it.
mean, and of
This I'm
course,
writing this down. This is good stuff.
I also think that would be the perfect way to invade an alien or to invade a planet,
Time travel?
sleep depression or sleep deprivation, which
It's
leads
like
to
sleep depression.
sleep
That's the title of my.
deprivation.
That's the title of my s- spy thriller book. Sleep depression.
Sleep deprivation, which leads to temporal depression.
Whoa,
There you go.
temporal depression. There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, we said that,
No one can fight
last
back
week.
if they're falling asleep all the time.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Um,
That's how I would do it.
I like it. I like that a lot, actually.
Mhm.
Um, I yeah, so like I feel like Marta and Jonas are connected in a way, not just because of weird time travel familial relations,
Oh yeah.
not just in that way,
Yeah.
as I was saying, I was like, well, I mean, they are technically connected. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and it's gross and it's weird, but I feel I kind of feel like there's something more to it, because if you even look at like her bedroom setup is the exact same way. Bed
Yeah.
against the wall, headboard against the window.
Yeah.
There's like stuff on her wall, and she has like a glass of water right next to her bed, and I'm like, this is Jonas's setup.
There's a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
And even in the beginning, so the episode starts with them making love, and it turns out it's her dream, which
Mm-hmm.
earlier in the season we saw Jonas have that dream.
Yeah.
And Jonas even tells her in the dream, he's like, we're a perfect match.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, or never
Mm-hmm.
think otherwise. And I'm like, man, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Which makes that conversation they had in the rain in season one hurt all the more, where he's like,
Yeah.
you know, we don't
He's like,
fit. It's like
yeah,
we're not
exactly.
good. We're not good. And I'm like, oh man,
Oh,
that
dude.
sucks. But I get it
She's,
because she's your aunt.
yeah, she's going through it, man. She's just so
Oh.
heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
But it even seems more than just like your typical teenage heartbreak. One, her brother and dad are missing.
Yeah.
Two, oh, and her lover, I guess.
Yeah.
But also the way he kind of like quote unquote breaks up with her, but then also like the way she's explaining it, she's like, it was almost real. She's like, how can I move on? How can he be dead if he feels so real?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's not just that she's grieving that he's gone. It's almost that like she can't stop grieving, even if
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to, and that feels different, you know,
Yeah.
like that. I think everyone goes through that at some point of their life in some form or level of grief, but just you do move on, whether you want to or not. That's just how time works.
Mm-hmm.
But Martha, it really seems like she can't,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what she's addressing. Like it's almost like driving her crazy. She's looking
Mm-hmm.
rough, you know.
Temporal grieving.
Temporal grieving. It's all
Mm-hmm.
tied in, dude. Temporal
Mm-hmm.
depression.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
All of this to say, Bartosz sucks.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad they beat the crap out of him and they left him to die.
Uh-huh. He didn't say anything and he still acted like he had the upper hand. Okay, when they were tying
Yeah.
him up, I didn't notice that they had actual rope. I thought they were just tying his shoelaces together and he was just that wimpy and whiny that he's just like,
Take that, you son of a bitch.
like we pulled your jacket down behind your arms super tight so you
Yeah.
can't move, and then we tied your shoelaces together
I
because you're
like
a
your mom and I
nerd,
like your dad. Why are you such a shit?
right? You suck, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, like they tied him with actual rope. I'm like, oh, that seems a little more dire. I get
Yeah.
it now, but
Yeah.
still, he's just like, no, don't leave me. I'm like,
Yeah.
It's
You
like you don't
can't do
have the
that.
upper, you don't have
Yeah.
the upper hand here, dude. You have no leverage.
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
what we want to know, and we won't leave you to die in a cave.
Yeah. It's gonna get him.
Yeah, probably. Can I just say one criticism?
Uh-huh.
I wish the caves were more visually interesting. We spend so much
Oh,
time in
yeah.
them that I'm just like I like it kind of gets me confused. And it's also like the brightness on Netflix is not great. Also, I think my own TV brightness is off and I'm constantly fighting with it.
Uh-huh.
Cuz just nighttime scenes for me, any scenes at night or in the dark on any platform,
Uh-huh.
it's so hard. I'm like, what the
Oh.
I'm
Wait,
constantly
so
having to
so
like
is
choose
are those
levels and
scenes super
stuff.
dark for you?
Kind of like I like, we turn off the lights so like we don't have that much
Yeah.
light going on. And I'm like, okay, I can make it out. But if I don't do that, it's gets a little bit harder to see. It was great this episode because multiple flashlights.
Yeah.
Multiple
I was gonna
flashes. I'm
say it's
like,
the opposite
great,
for me, like
fantastic.
because they turn all the flashlights off and I'm like, I can still see. I'm like, wow, it's bright in this cave.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I don't
just
know.
I
It looks very cave-like. It would have been cool to do a little something more like I don't know, a little more magical, add a little fantasy to it, like little waterfalls or little ponds. There's water in caves. I think it would have been cool instead of it just being like ugly rock, you
mhm.
know?
I guess we can assume that like just because all of these things are happening in this cave, it's like life can't really thrive here
Mm.
because it has, time, time is such a
Or
huge aspect of the show that like it can't flourish for some
time
reason.
life. It's a different form of life.
Mm, it exists and yet doesn't exist.
Oh, or it exists at the same point in time in all three times.
Wouldn't we be able to see it though?
Yeah, like that'd be crazy. Like, what if there's like a little plant that's the same height in each different like
Mm.
decade,
So
but
like time, either time is standing still or time is just passing regularly.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
both
yeah, that would be
at the
cool if it
same
was like a
time.
vine, or vines, or just something small. Like I don't know, that would be cool. Very much
Hmm.
like a next gen Star Trek Days, not Days of Future Past, All Good Things. The
Mm,
way there's three different timelines, but the anomaly grows backwards.
mm,
So in the future timeline, it's like not there. But in the past timeline, it's huge.
mm.
So in normal time, it looks like it's getting smaller, but in reality, it's just growing backwards.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's cool.
love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of X-Men, I also texted you this that like
Yes.
this feels so
Oh
much more
God.
X-Men than even Lost does. I know
Ah.
like Lost I was able to like okay, yeah, like certain
Listeners,
stuff,
Sam has a whole theory of how Lost is just setting up the Marvel Universe's X-Men.
they're doing Krakoa. They're doing it Krakoa and
Uh-huh.
they've done it like they're gonna retroactively say that like the island is the mutant known as Krakoa, all that stuff. Uh but I feel like this keys into like a different aspect of the X-Men comics where time travel is such a huge thing, you
Yeah.
know? And also to that point, people who exist as paradoxes or who have lived in the future and come back to the present who are these war-torn, rugged, heroes, in a way. Like, yeah, you could say future Jonas is Cable, you know,
Hmm.
having to be
Yeah,
raised
that
by
makes sense.
himself in, the evil future landscape,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking
The
of,
villain is just a time traveled version of yourself. Like, yeah,
yeah,
that's, yeah.
speaking of future, the girl from the future, she meets up with what's the girl's name? Elizabeth
Yeah.
at gunpoint, and she really wants to know what the hell is it. And Elizabeth says they call it a piece of God. She's like, but it's not. It's a piece of the devil. It's like,
Hmm.
ooh, what does
I'm
she
like,
know?
what does that
What
mean?
does she know?
Stop speaking in code. Tell me. Stop being dramatic.
Yeah, yeah. But now, okay, in 2020, the kids they have a time machine.
Hmm.
All right.
And we in the episode where Magnus and Marta meet back up with Katerina, who knows
Yeah.
about,
The time travel
Mikhail,
now.
knows
Yeah.
about the time travel, and now they've got this machine. Like this feels so, everything feels so tense right now because it's like I don't see Katerina just letting this be.
Yeah.
She's gonna
Well,
try and do something to get her son and husband back.
okay, so let's talk about this. Let's jump into predictions because we are now officially halfway through season 2. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of curious, what do you think needs to happen by the end of the season? 4 episodes. And then what, as opposed to what do you think is going to be a longer arc, something that we won't get to till like season 3 or whatever?
Hmm. Hmm. All right, so they're obviously building to the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah, there's what, 3 days left?
Yeah,
Each
yeah,
episode's another day closer.
we're 3 days left, and it's like okay, and we keep talking about how Sigmundus is trying to start the last cycle.
Right.
What we need to know is what that means and how they plan on making this the end.
Yeah.
Katerina has got to try time travel in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like we really also got to touch on this whole like Alexander thing. Like,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
that's something kind of more pressing. Like it feels like we need to that needs to connect sooner rather than later.
yeah, if that goes into like season 3 where we're like, oh, we still don't know what that is
Yeah.
about. Like, I'm gonna be a little perturbed, especially like that feels like this investigator's like thing,
Yeah.
you know, to try and piece this whole thing together.
Hmm.
Um, and also, I guess it's interesting because we don't we only know what we've seen,
Right.
you know? So theoretically, this investigator could be trying to piece together an even bigger mystery around this one person and just happen to stumble into
Yeah.
a bigger hole,
I love
you
the
know?
talk he has with Waller in the
Waller.
car. And he's like,
Hmm.
what is it about this town? Everyone's keeping secrets and lying to each other, and uh it's like they just want to what is the line? They don't want to reveal anything about it, like what's going on in this town. You know,
Hmm.
like yeah, man, like it's crazy.
Hmm.
It's like it feels like a curse. It's like the whole town feels cursed, you
Yeah.
know? This is what like a real hellmouth is, you know? It's not a pit of demons where you vampires coming out of the, it's like no, it's just something about this area which is really making people just make the worst decisions they can,
Yeah.
you know. And then I even love when the investigator asks Alexander, he's like, why do people never leave a town this size? That's surprising. He's like, well,
Hmm.
I don't know, the plant gives lots of jobs. And he just kind of moves on. We're like, yeah, that's interesting too. Like nobody really leaves Winden.
Yeah.
And I think young Ulrich talked about that in season 1.
Hmm.
So I'm like, man, yeah.
And kind of on a smaller note, when when Jonas winds up in what we can assume is Winden 1921,
Hmm.
young Agnes is there,
Yeah. Yeah.
which means that at some point Agnes leaves.
Well, I mean, young Noah's there too, so
Yeah, no,
possibly.
yes, but Agnes's introduction in season 1 is her and her son coming back to or coming to Winden,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that's in the 50s.
and that's in the 50s.
Hmm.
So it's kind of sort of like it's not just people can't leave. It's like you can't get away. Like
Yeah.
something is always going to bring you back,
Yeah.
you know? Now I know like that's still a mystery, like this whole thing with like an abusive husband, and all that.
Hmm.
And I don't know that we ever necessarily need to see any of it, but
Right.
it's just interesting that like both her and her son are being so like cagey about it,
Yeah.
you know? Who knows, man? Like, how freaking crazy would it be if like Jonas, evil Jonas, Adam, whatever. What if he was somehow like involved in whatever it is that brings them back?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with like Adam, could Adam be someone we've seen before?
Hmm.
Anything's possible. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with them. Like we've been given like very little context or clues about
Hmm.
that. It is like a hole in the family tree. You're like, okay, Agnes is related to Noah.
Hmm.
Agnes's son is Tronte,
Hmm.
who's the dad of Yulric. It's like there's family connections. It feels like that's something that's gonna have to be addressed at some point.
Hmm.
Uh I don't know. Well, by the look of things, I think it's safe to say we're gonna get the apocalypse before the season ends. Because each episode, it's one day closer.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh,
So
that's right. And we have wait, how many episodes do we have?
there's 4 episodes left.
Okay.
And after this episode, what, 2 days till the apocalypse?
Hmm.
Because this one started with 3. Now,
Hmm.
unless they go the 2 days or whatever, and then like on the last episode or two, they're like 6 hours before the apocalypse,
God dang
and
it,
then
don't you
the
dare.
whole final season of Dark is like 24.
It
It's
would be
eight
fitting
episodes,
for it.
8 hours until the apocalypse.
It'd be fitting for a time travel series for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want that.
yeah. And Jack Bauer shows up, who never needs to use the restroom and has the best cell service on the planet.
Uh-huh.
Ugh. Well, okay, man. What was MVPs?
Mm. You ask me this every week, and every week I'm like, I don't freaking know, man. I don't know. It's too much. I'll, s- you know what? I think I will give it to Katarina.
Yeah, she wasn't in it much, but she definitely made an
Hmm.
impression, man. And
Yeah,
also kind of what you're saying about she's not going to take it sitting down. Like she feels like the one right now who's unhinged enough to actually
do
try something.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And what terrible consequences will that bring?
I know.
You
So
know?
okay, so the one of the time machines is with Magnus and Martha at the
Hmm.
house.
Hmm.
Another time machine is with middle-aged Jonas and Hannah at their house.
Hmm.
It's two
And
time
Claudia has
two
one of the time
two time
machines.
machines. Oh yeah. Well, she's back in the 80s right now,
She's back
which
in
I
the
was
80s right now.
surprised
Yeah.
because she did read the newspaper saying how she disappears. And then she reads about Regina and Alexander getting married, their hotel opening, closing. She reads about Egon, them finding him
Hmm.
dead in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, damn it, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. And I don't know. Did you catch the date on that?
I didn't, but it's not that far off, right? It's like
Yeah,
a couple
yeah,
days from today from
yeah. It's really
then.
close. And
Yeah.
at first, I was just kind of like, okay, and then I realized, wait a second. Each time period, that's something you have to keep remembering, right? Each
Mm-hmm.
timeline, they're in lock sync, so like the days are the same.
Yeah.
So June 20th in the future is also June 20th in the past, and so and so. So you're like, oh, okay, so it didn't seem like that far away. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, we'll see. You just have to keep watching. I have so many ideas and theories. Oh well.
You've
Um,
seen this.
I know.
How do you have ideas and theories?
Have I? Maybe that was a previous loop.
Oh gosh.
Okay, next episode. It's season 2, episode 5, Lost and Found. Let's see. Dude, I watched this like at midnight, so by the time it's over, I don't get online. I'm like, oh, let me go research the next one and do the write up.
We'll stop doing that.
So then I forget. No, because that's
What
when
are you what
I
are you
relax.
doing?
I'm in my PJs. That's
What are
when I
you
watch
doing?
stuff.
What are you doing before midnight that you were like, now's the time.
I'm not watching Dark.
I gotta wait till midnight to
That's my
watch this thing.
my relaxation time, my
Oh,
chillaxing time.
oh God.
Okay, I'm gonna guess season 2, episode 5. It's called Lost and Found.
What do you mean you're gonna
I'm gonna
guess?
guess.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
You
Fine.
just read the thing.
Let me look it up on Netflix. I bet it's gonna have a spoiler in it.
Probably.
In 1987,
Uh-huh.
Ulrich makes a plan.
Okay.
In 2020,
Mm-hmm.
the kids make a plan. And wherever the hell Jonas is at, 1920 or
One.
1921, wherever he is at,
Mm-hmm.
Jonas makes a plan.
Honestly, I feel like you could write these. Netflix should just hire you to write these.
I think
But
so too.
just for dark.
Yeah, just for dark,
Just for
for
dark, nothing
everything,
else.
even shows I haven't seen yet. Like, oh, I don't know, Emily in Paris. That sounds like a spoiler. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Sabrina, the teenage witch, makes a plan.
yeah.
Just now I'm just thinking like Black Mirror. Your best friend, who's actually a robot, makes a
So
plan.
oh man, listeners, thank you for joining us. Keep your ears open for the bonus Lost Legacy gets canceled episode, which will drop in a couple of
Stop
days.
calling it that. Stop calling it that. That just has such
What do you
weird
want to call it then?
connotations. It's just an episode. We were asking dad stuff
It's true, but we
and
do
then
address cancellation.
yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm hoping that means that we don't get canceled. That's just such a you billing it as that feels like those conservative comedians that are always like, I've been canceled, I can't say anything anymore. And then what happens? They're all over the news, they get a book deal that nobody buys, they get a Netflix comedy special that nobody watches, and they keep saying I can't say anything, and they just keep yapping and yapping and yapping. That's what this
No
sounds
one
like.
actually gets them canceled. They just keep yapping.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
why it works.
That's
Or
what
like
this
all the
feels like.
YouTubers. It's the clickbait, Sam. I just saw a
Oh.
video from Ghostfire Gaming. It was called uh uh 2024 leak. And I was like,
Mm.
"Uh-oh." So I watched it and I'm like, "No, it's just addressing everything they're going to discuss and release all the products they're releasing throughout the year." So they leaked their schedule. And
Oh, okay.
I was like, "Oh, that's actually clever."
I
So,
guess that's clever. Yeah. It's just
yeah.
dumb. I'm just against it. I'm against
Well,
the way
but
the
you don't have to
algorithm
worry
just
about the
like keep
algorithm. That's the
putting
thing.
yeah, no.
You know? People live and die and their living is based off of that algorithm, which sucks, but like that's why they have
Hmm.
to do it. So we
Yeah.
don't, unfortunately, we don't make any money off of this podcast.
Nope.
So the algorithm is just for the views. It's just for the likes, guys. It's just to stay relevant.
Hmm.
Fine. Join us for the special Lost Legacies doesn't get canceled special. Drop it in a few days.
Now it feels like we're just saying, like, yeah, you can't cancel us now. Maybe you just put doesn't get canceled question mark.
Well, my whole thing was like, based on our conversation, like we cancel ourselves. Lost Legacies cancels
Oh,
themselves.
I got you. I got you.
I don't know. Let's see if we
Hey,
even release it.
it's up to
Anyway,
you.
anyway, keep your eyes and ears open for that. As always, hit us up on Twitter, hashtag Lost Legacies, and do it now before you listen to the next episode and get offended. Also, I'm on Twitter at underscore Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Reels at Reel. It's REEL Texas Weirdo.
Until next time, going dark.
Wait, no, it's not even Reels. It's Threads. You can find me on Threads. You know what? Don't. I'm hardly on Threads. Nobody's on Threads. Don't find me on Threads.
Really? Is
Going
no one
dark.
really on there? Oh well.
Like it. Yeah, it's fine. But like, I just, Twitter is just like,
It's not as many people as Twitter when it was in its heyday, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
It's bad fast food, It's like it's nourishing to a point, and then at a certain point, it's just awful.
What are you talking about? Twitter?
But I
Still?
keep going back. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But I keep
Yeah.
going back.
I agree.
Yeah.
And now people are kind of scattered with like threads and all these other ones and like but no one it's still like it's not the togetherness that everyone was on Twitter. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different, man. They screwed up big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. They don't
Oh.
care about that or us. So until next time,
Going dark.